All right, folks, welcome back once again. This week, we are going to look at editing video in Photoshop. A lot of people don't even know that this is possible. And it's really, if you've ever worked in other video editing programs like Premiere or Final Cut, even like iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, I think you'll be amazed at how easy it is to edit video and really get a lot of pretty outstanding effects using Photoshop, especially if you're familiar with the Photoshop interface. Now, there are a few differences between working in regular Photoshop and working in video Photoshop, kind of like you saw with 3D last week. There's a different interface that we use and a few different terms to keep in mind. But we're going to jump right in. And now the important thing, whenever you are starting to work on a video project in Photoshop, there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. First of all, you want to convert your workspace to the video workspace, which is called Motion. So I'm going to come up here to the workspace selector, and I'm going to choose Motion. All right, and you're going to see a few different things. You still have your layers and your adjustments, but you get a big section down here at the bottom called Timeline. And this is where our video tracks and our audio tracks and everything are actually going to be. It's almost like a layers panel for video. And you can adjust how big this area is by bringing your cursor to the top if you need to see more or see less. And this is still your document window. Now, the other thing you want to keep in mind is to organize your content before you get started. All right, now I have done this for you for this particular episode. I've created a folder that has two folders inside it, one for audio and one for content. And I've given you a video and a piece of audio. All right. Now, the reason you want to do this is because we're going to save our PSD file into this folder. And for video, Photoshop doesn't actually embed the video and audio inside the PSD file, but it links to wherever those original files are. So you want to keep all those things together in one folder just so you don't break links and lose them and all that kind of stuff, because otherwise it's not going to work. So always create a folder for audio and content. This content can be video, it can be stills, it can be all sorts of different images and things like that you can put in and animate. So because you can actually animate things in Photoshop, not just edit video. It's kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to bring Photoshop back. Now, first thing we're going to do, just like we would open up an image to start working with, we are going to open up a video. And to do that, you can go File, Open. You can click on the plus sign here, or you can click on this little video icon and go to Add Media. It all gets you to the same place. So I'm going to go to Add Media, and I'm going to go to my Content folder, and this slow motion video MP4, and you just open it up, and it puts it right there. You can see this is the duration of the video, and this is called the playhead. All right, this is where it shows you what's going on in the video. All right, and then we have our controls over here. We have a split clip, we have transitions, and all sorts of things that I'll show you. But first of all, let's take a look at our video. So just like we were looking at an image, this is our video, and we can press play over here to see how it looks. So it's just a nice slow motion water droplet free stock video that I found. It's already got some audio attached to it. And it calms down. And then at the end, there's kind of a little credits section for the person that created this original video. All right, so you can let it play to the end. You go ahead and stop it. Now, what I want to do is get rid of that section at the end with the person's name and drop. All right, so I want it to stop right around here before it turns black. Okay, so to do that, I can do one of two things. All right, this is sort of like destructive editing and non-destructive editing in regular Photoshop. I could place my playhead where I want it to stop, and I could come over here to the scissors icon and click on split at playhead and then delete this other action. Because if you click on that, it's going to turn it into two separate video clips. All right, and then I can click on this one, and I can just hit the delete key and it's gone. However, that's destructive editing. There's a better way to do it. So if I'm going to go in my history panel and go back to open before I split the clip and get my playhead and put it right here before that goes away, okay? You can actually bring your cursor to the end of the clip and click and drag back, and it's going to trim it. Now this is nice because it's non-destructive. So even though the clip now stops here, if we decide at some point that we want to add some back in, we just click and drag out and it's still there. All right, so that's kind of nice to do. So just remember that splitting and deleting is destructive, and trimming this way just by dragging is non-destructive. All right, so now we have shortened our video clip. All right, so now it stops right here. The next thing we want to do, I want to add some audio. Now this video already has some audio in it, so I want to get rid of that. All right, and to do that, you can click on this little arrow. This little arrow down here is going to give you the properties of this clip, and then you can also click this little arrow that's going to open up some different things, position, opacity, style, and those are for animating. So for right now, we're just going to click on this little arrow, and it'll show you the duration, the speed. You can actually slow the video down if you want to. This is already slow motion, so I don't need to do that. I'm going to click on the audio, and you'll see that I can adjust the volume, I can fade in, I can fade out, or I can mute. So I'm going to mute the audio on this track. All right. So now if I were to play it, it would play, but there's no sound. All right, that's good. Now I'm going to bring in some audio. So down here on the audio track, you'll see it automatically gives you an audio track. And then next to this little sign, I can click and go to Add Audio. And just like I brought in the video, I'll click on the audio folder, grab that MP3, and bring it in. And again, this is just some stock audio that I found. Now you'll see that the audio is much longer than the video, all right? So I want to make those things match up. So this time, we'll do it the other way. Because I know that I'm not going to need any audio beyond the end of this video, I'm just going to place my playhead at the end of the video here and make sure I have the audio track selected by clicking on it. And then click that little scissor icon to split them. And then I'm going to click on the part that I want to get rid of, and then just hit the delete key on your keyboard. And it goes away. All right, so now let's listen to what we have. It's a little different. Not bad. Now the problem is it just cuts off immediately, so we're going to add some transitions to kind of make it ease us in and ease us out of the clip. So for the video, I'm going to click on the video, and what we're going to do is, if you click on this little icon right here that says transitions, we've got fade, crossfade, fade with black, fade with white, fade with color, all these different things. It's up to you what you want to use. I think I'm going to do fade with white, all right? And then the duration is down here. Yours probably says like 1 or 2 seconds. I've adjusted mine already. Now you can adjust the duration by dragging this slider. You can also do it once the transition is already applied to the video track. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click fade with white and just drag it down to the front of your track, and you'll see it kind of appear. All right, and it gives you this transition. To show you what that looks like, I'll go back to the beginning here. Play. You see, it just kind of comes in. All right. Now, if you want to adjust the length of that transition, you just bring your cursor right on here to the end of it, and you can slide it, make it longer, shorter, all that kind of stuff. All right. Doesn't matter exactly how long it is, just kind of roughly. All right. Now, at the end of this video clip, I'm going to do the same thing, except I think I'm going to fade to black. All right. So I'll put fade to black right here. That looks pretty good. So now, just to see how it looks at the beginning, and you know, feel free to stop this video and play and experiment. But it fades in like that. And then I'll put my playhead over here and see how it fades out. Nice. Now the audio still stops abruptly. So for that, I'm going to click on this little arrow at the end of the audio track. And we're going to do fade in and fade out. It's basically the same. It's the audio's version of a transition. All right. So we'll fade in. We'll do maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and then fade out maybe a little bit longer, maybe 4 or 5 seconds. All right. And so now, let's see how it looks. All right, that sounds good. I'll put my playhead here at the end. Nice. That's a much more gradual transition. All right, so right there, we've done a lot already that usually takes a lot more steps in other software. Now, the next part of this is going to be to add some Photoshop effects, because just like you can add all sorts of effects to images, you can do the same thing to video. Just think of it as, video is just a whole bunch of stills in a row playing really fast. So in that same way, we can apply effects to video. So what I want to do, I'm going to add some adjustment layers here. All right. So on this video, I'm going to put my playhead somewhere where I can see it. All right. I'm going to add an adjustment layer. So I'm going to click on Video Group 1, and or you can click on the video, whatever. I'm going to show you how we can adjust this. So I'm going to add a hue saturation adjustment layer. So I'm going to click on there, and you'll see it's going to add it in that video group. All right. And I'm going to just adjust the color a little bit, and you'll see how it changes. I'm going to take it all the way over to the left to give me kind of this sepia tone thing. All right. And so now it's going to be that color for the entire video. All right. But what if I want it to gradually change? Well, you can do that, but you need to separate the hue saturation adjustment layer from this video group. So I'm just going to click on this adjustment layer on the icon and drag it above that video group folder to right there. So it brings it outside of this video group folder, and you'll see automatically it appears as a separate element in the timeline. All right, and now just like with video or audio, I can grab the end and I can shorten it. Just to show you what happens here. Now if I would bring my playhead, it's one color, and then it goes back to the original color. But I can add transitions, so it's a more gradual kind of thing too. So that's what I want to do. I want to kind of get this gradually changing image here. So with this adjustment layer, I'm going to go to my transitions, and I'm just going to do a fade. All right, and I'll drag it down here to one end, and then I'll drag it again to the other end. All right, so now I have a fade on both ends. Let's see how it looks. Changing colors gradually. Now it's changing back to blue. All right, that looks great. The only thing, I think it's a little too close to the fade in, so I'm actually going to move this over just a little bit. And you can shorten it. You can do all sorts of different things here. You can adjust the length of the transitions, all this kind of stuff. So that's great. Let's go ahead and add another one just for fun, just so we can see what we can do here. Now I'm using adjustment layers. You can also use filters up in the filter menu. Now for filters to be non-destructive, you need to change your video to a smart object. Well, we'll not worry about that right now. I'm just going to do some adjustment layers. So now let's add a threshold adjustment layer. So I'm going to click on threshold, and because we're outside of this video group, it's automatically going to add it separately, and you're going to see it right up here. And this is what threshold looks like. It's very high contrast, black and white. So I'm just going to kind of make it, I'm going to shorten this adjustment down a little bit so it kind of transitions from one thing to the other. All right. So then I'll do the same thing, grab some transitions here. I'm going to grab a fade, put it at the front, and a fade and put it at the back, and maybe shorten these just a little bit. Whoops. All right, you can kind of overlap them if you want to. I'm going to leave mine a little bit of distance there so you can see the transition. So let's see how this looks now. Go back to the beginning. It's blue. Starts fading to the sepia tone. It goes back to blue. And here comes the threshold layer. Nice. All right, so feel free to play with that a little bit. I'm not looking for your example to be exactly like mine, but to have the same elements. So as far as the amount of time that each one is up there, that's kind of, I'll let you customize that a little bit and play with it. All right, so I'm going to make this just a little bit shorter, a little bit closer. All right, let's go ahead and save our file. We haven't done that yet. This is a good time to do it. So we're going to save as, and you can save a video file as a PSD, just like you would a layered file. So we're going to name this DL underscore video. All right, and I'm going to put it in the Photoshop video folder. All right, and maximize compatibility. All right, so we have our video. The last thing I want to do is add and animate some text. All right, so I'm going to bring my cursor where I want that text to go, and I'm going to do it right around here, I think. Okay. So right towards the end of this threshold layer, and I'm going to click on my type tool just like I would normally, and click up here and type something. You'll see it automatically gives you a separate type area in the timeline. I'm going to type ripples. All right, you can change the font, you can change the color, free transform it, however you want to do it. So I'm going to just click check mark, get my move tool. And I'm gonna make it a little bigger. So I'm gonna go Command T, free transform, and make it decent size. Double click. If you want to change the color, just click on the character palette, just like you normally would. Click on the color box, and you can actually sample colors from the image if you want to. I kind of like that blue that I had, so I'm gonna go try and find that again. That looks pretty good. All right. So now it's going to show up. It's going to pop up just like it looks in the timeline. So it pops up, and then it'll disappear whenever we get to the end of that little piece. And it goes away. All right. So what I want to do is animate that a little bit. Now, Photoshop gives you some automatic animations. All right. So for this text, if I wanted to, if I click on this little arrow, you'll see no motion. We have some pan and zoom, zoom, rotate, all these kinds of things. So I'll do pan and zoom just so you can see what it looks like. All right, so I'll bring my playhead outside right here. And so it started kind of moves around a little bit. However, you can customize those. So that's what we're going to do. Rather than use one of these preset animations, I'm going to show you how to customize it. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to click on that little arrow and go back to no motion. All right, and then I'm going to open up, I'm going to expand this little area right here. Now this is all about keyframes. If you've ever done any video editing or worked in Flash, you know what keyframes are, but it's basically, it tells editing program, this is where I want you to start a transition and this is where I want you to stop it. So if I bring my cursor right here to the very beginning of this text and I click on, we're going to do transform. All right, click on transform. You'll see a little yellow diamond. That's the first keyframe. All right, so that says start the transition here. Now I could put that keyframe I could let it appear for a little while and then have it start moving. And if you want to, you can just move the keyframe over a little bit. All right. So that's I'll leave that up to you. Then I'm going to bring my playhead to where I want the transition to stop, and I'll say right around the end here. Okay, right before it disappears. All right. And now with the type layer selected, now I'm going to free transform, Command T. And I'm going to shrink it down and maybe bring it like kind of right here above the water and apply it. All right, double click to apply. All right, so and you'll see whenever you do that, it automatically creates a second keyframe. So that's all you have to do to animate it. All right, so let's put our cursor playhead right here and hit play and see how it looks. All right, that's pretty cool. I want to center it a little bit more. I did not do that. So I will kind of center it right there. And then because I have that keyframe there, it moved it over a little bit. So I'm going to click on that keyframe and move it back where I want it to be. All right. So now you can add transitions just like you can with anything else to text. So we got the text moving. Now I want it to kind of fade in and fade out. So go to transitions again, go to fade, bring that over here and make it a little bit shorter. And then same thing again, fade at the end. I'll make that a little bit longer. And now let's watch, see what we have from the very beginning. All right, there you go. Now, I'm not 100% happy with that text. I might play with that a little bit. But for the purpose of this video, you get the idea of how it can be animated by adding keyframes. There are automatic animations as well that you can utilize. I could add multiple text layers, have one text layer kind of coming down this way and another one appearing over here and going the other way. So you can really get a lot of action, a lot of energy using these pretty simple tools in Photoshop. Okay, so once you're done, you're going to want to save your file, all right, save your PSD file, and then to export this to something that you can use in other editing programs or upload to YouTube or whatever. We're going to go to File and Export, and then down Render Video. Okay, so when you click that, you're going to get all sorts of different settings. And generally, you want the defaults because Photoshop's pretty good at figuring that out. H.264 is generally the format that you want. Size, you want to leave the regular document size generally. Select folder. It's going to ask what you want to name it. I'm going to leave it DL Video MP4. Select folder. I'm going to choose that same folder, the Photoshop video folder where my other content is. Choose that. And then for the quality, because we are going to be submitting this online, you can click on it. You'll see you have all these different things. You can do Vimeo, YouTube, for iPhones, Androids, and all that. And then up here, the high, medium, and low quality. I want you to choose medium quality, all right? And everything else you can leave the same, all right? And you click render, and it actually moves pretty quickly, much quicker than some other video programs that I've worked with. So I'm pretty happy with the way Photoshop Video exports. So it'll export, and then I just want to show you, because whenever you're working with video, you need to be very aware of how big the files are, because video can get pretty huge pretty quickly, especially if it's something you're going to be uploading or submitting through Blackboard or anything like that. You want to keep video as small as possible. All right, so our render is done. I'm going to hide this and bring up our folder so we can see here. This video MP4 is 18.7 megabytes. That is fine. Anything under 30 or 40 megabytes you're going to be able to submit to Blackboard. You want to keep it as small as possible. 20 is fine, 20 megabytes. And if I click on this, you'll see our finished video open up. This is QuickTime. There you go. So, this MP4 is what you're actually going to be submitting to Blackboard, okay? So don't submit the PSD file or JPEGs or anything like that. You want this finished MP4 that you created as you followed along with the video, and let me know if you have any problems. I'll see you next time.